Call the meeting to order. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. It's so wonderful to see so many faces at the board meeting. I love the beginning of the school year because I feel like there's a really cool energy that's in the air. And part of it is the students aren't here yet, but the teachers are buzzing around and getting everything ready for school. And the other part of it is the kids are buzzing around and they're finishing their summer experiences and getting ready for school. And I feel like this is still when they're really excited. You know, in June, it's a whole different thing that we're experiencing. So this is my favorite time. And I want to again thank all of our teachers for spending the time over the last couple of weeks getting prepared with the curriculum, getting our classrooms ready, getting our students ready. I've already received some phenomenal letters from teachers, and it just makes me that much more excited to start the year off correctly. With that, I will get into the meeting. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, public notice of this meeting has been given by the board secretary in the following manner. Posting written notice on the official bulletin board at the Voorhees Township Public Schools Administrative Building on July 6, 2022. Sending written notice to the Courier Post on July 6, 2022. Filing written notice with the clerk of Voorhees Township on July 6, 2022. And posting on the Voorhees Township website on July 6, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I am going to turn it over to our solicitor, board solicitor, to do the oath of office.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Kedover, I'm going to hand you your oath, but I'm going to read it out loud and I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. Okay, but just so you have it in front of you. You could raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Julie Kedover,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people.
and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, Julie Kedover,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I possess the pre-qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education,
thank you for giving me this paper, that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education,
am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
am not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJSA 18A:12-1,
am not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJSA 18A:12-1,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
That's all. You could just
I need
sign
to
the oath.
Let me be the first to congratulate you and welcome you to the board.
Thank you.
Board secretary, will you do the roll call?
Mr. Bryce,
Here.
Mrs. Cosenza,
Here.
Dr. Falk, Ms. Galliano,
Here.
Ms. Kedover,
Here.
Dr. Levy,
Here.
Mr. Schmus,
Here.
Mrs. Stupler,
Here.
Mrs. Watson.
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the June 15th, 2022 meeting?
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, voting is open.
There are also some seats still in the front row. If anybody would like, there's 2 seats up here and there's 1 seat over here.
Motion carries, all voted yes. I'm closing the online voting.
Under information items, fire drills and safety drills are shown on the attachment, and as is the HIB report. We had 3 OPRA requests recently. They've all been closed out. That's their current status. If you need more information, you can see that on our agenda. Board secretary report.
Thank you. Every board member has received a packet of summer projects. Our maintenance department, buildings and grounds department has been very busy this summer, just like other summers. They do routine maintenance throughout the whole district, replacing ceiling tiles and painting and replacing equipment, repairing things. We had some new windows installed, some exterior doors installed, paving done, lines on pavement, many things like that. In addition, in the past, we would have an industrial hygienist or certified hygienist come in and do an air quality review. And we would do it on a random sampling of classrooms or by request. This year, we decided to increase it. So last fall, and when we got the ESSER money, we increased it to every classroom because we thought it's probably more thorough to do every classroom than just a random sampling of classrooms or by request. So we did that, and that was conducted in mid-August. And during that process, we did find the person doing the inspection found some surface mold, which is not the serious kind of mold, but it's mold that can be cleaned up pretty easily. So we contacted our insurance company, and they gave us the protocol to follow. So we had a certified industrial hygienist come in from Hillman Consulting. They looked at the classrooms, and they gave us the protocol. And starting Friday and over the weekend, our maintenance department cleaned all the classrooms with a disinfectant cleaner where they wiped down all surface areas, all desks, underneath desks, wooden doors, wooden folding doors, and so forth. And then we rented air scrubbers to run the entire weekend. Hillman came back today. They did a review of the district again, and all classrooms are clear. So we wanted to make sure that we reported that so that way people know. But we started doing the every classroom routine. I think it was either the fall or in the winter of last year. And we think that's a better approach than doing a random sampling of classrooms or by request. It's just more thorough. We started doing it on a rotating basis to cover the whole district. And then this August, we did everything at one shot. So yeah, we were happy to know that it's all clear at this point. Mr. Taylor, if you can, we had some really big projects this summer. As you know, we were building a 10 classroom addition on Crescent, and we got our temporary certificate of occupancy last week. So that was great because our date of substantial completion was August 23rd, and we met it. So we were very thrilled with that. We also had some other projects where we renovated the Osage Library, and we installed new lockers in BMS. So we're going to show you some pictures on that real soon. But I really do want to thank Clark Mathis, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, as well as the maintenance staff. They always work hard, but I think this summer they worked harder than ever, and they really met every deadline, and we're really proud of them, and we do commend them. So Mr. Taylor, if you could share each of those projects, I'll go over each of them with you guys. Okay, the first picture is that's BMS. So you can see the new lockers and you can see the floor. So throughout each year, we're like we're scheduling replacement of carpeting with hard surface flooring. So you can see that hallway has been replaced and the lockers have been replaced. So that's a sample of how things will look everywhere at some point. Could you go to the next picture, please? Okay, there's a picture of, there's one of them that has the carpeting in the hallway. Those, okay, all right, can you show the video of it? Okay. The other one doesn't matter so much, it's just one hallway had carpeting and then one had the new flooring. But over time, we will be replacing all the carpeting with hard surface flooring, and that's happening throughout the district in classrooms and hallways. This sounds like one of the ones our furniture people might have done, because they put music to theirs. We're not that, I'm not that skilled. If it doesn't work here, we have it on our website. So if it, that's okay. I know you have a lot. Well, if by chance it doesn't work here, what we did is we uploaded them to our facilities website, and there's a tab on construction. So what one of the videos is a classroom at the Crescent Edition. It's our preschool classroom. So it shows how beautiful the room is. It shows the new furniture. Another one of them is our Osage Media Center, and that one we did pretty much completely in-house. Oh, this looks like, okay, this is Crescent, and this is the preschool, a sample preschool classroom. The next one should be the library, I guess. Yeah, that one. Some of our library renovations in the other two schools, we had used an architect to help design it. This one, we did it in-house. So we used, so Clark Mathis oversaw the project, and he brought in various contractors. So we had somebody from Emerald, which is our furniture supplier, design the space with the media center director and specialist, I guess, media center specialist. So she picked out the colors and so forth. And they ordered the furniture, and our in-house painting crew painted the walls. Here you go. This is the media center at Osage. So the media center specialist picked out the colors, and they helped pick out the furniture. We're going with furniture, like instead of wooden furniture, which can attract mold, we're going with more of a metal and laminate. So that's LVT flooring. That's not wooden flooring, it's LVT flooring, and the furniture, like I said, is laminate or metal. It all has posters on it, so it can roll around, so they can use the space for various things. And our inside paint crew did that, the furniture guy, and then we had another construction company do the renovation part of it. sampling of some of the projects that were done this summer. So it was a pretty busy summer, getting things cleaned up and new things in place. This also came in under budget. And in there before was all carpeting. So again, the carpeting was removed. So that it makes it easier to clean, better air quality and so forth. And the funding for this comes from capital reserve money. But like I said, it came in under what was budgeted. And it got done faster than we expected. Well, for the sake of time, you don't have to find the video on the lockers, but we did see still pictures of the lockers, and it will be on our website. So if you want to look there, you can look there. I'll move on to the next topic, which is free and reduced lunch. We have tried to put out as much notices as we could on Facebook, on our website, on Genesis and so forth, just to let everyone know that the waiver process has not been extended for free meals for everyone. Now the free and reduced process is still in place. We encourage people to apply online. It gets processed quicker that way. And if people are eligible for free and reduced meals, it does help them in other areas like EBT cards and so forth. But free and reduced would get meals at zero price. The full price meals are $3.15, and the full price breakfast is $1.85. Breakfast is only at O-Stage and VMS. The last item under my section is the iPad sale reverse bid. So what we did, we've done this one other time when we had a large number of assets to sell that are old and of no use to us anymore. And in this situation, we had 1,153 Apple iPads that were older generation. So Mr. Taylor oversaw this whole project, and we put together a reverse bid, put it out. We had a floor bid of $69,000. We advertised it on our website and also in the newspaper. We had several companies ask for information on the bid, but 4 of them submitted bids. And we ended up getting the highest bid of $84,260.72. So again, like we put the floor at 69 and the bids came in really great. So we're pretty happy with that result too. And that way that money can go back into our budget and be used for other things. So that's all I have for my section. Thank you very much.
Superintendent report.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Voorhees community. I hope everyone is well today. I want to acknowledge Ms. Haley and Mr. Mathis and the entire Buildings and Grounds team. What a wonderful job they have done this summer. I don't believe Mr. Mathis is in the room, but what a wonderful job. And you can see the fruits of their labor this evening. So I just want to acknowledge them and their hard work. I'd like to begin by thanking the Voorhees Township community for extending to me such a warm welcome and best wishes. My heart has been filled with the encouraging words and smiles that I have received since beginning my time as superintendent on July 1st. I met with district personnel, parents, and community stakeholders, and everyone, I mean everyone, has been so supportive, so encouraging, and so complimentary of the school district. I have learned over the past 8 weeks that the Voorhees Township School District has committed staff members, a supportive Board of Education members, dedicated community members, and engaged parents and guardians. And I look forward to working side by side with everyone as we focus on providing our students with a rigorous and relevant learning experience in a safe and secure learning environment. I have spent the last 8 weeks implementing my 90-day plan, which can be found on the district's website. I am pleased to announce that I am on target to complete all of the action steps listed in the 90-day plan. I look forward to my listen and learn meetings with district staff, which will take place in September. And eventually, I have planned to have listen and learn meetings with 4th and 5th grade students from each school and our middle school student representatives to discuss their perceptions of their learning experience here in the Voorhees Township Public Schools. As part of my 90-day plan, I've scheduled 3 community forums. I've had 2 so far, on July 27th and August 24th. The August 24th forum resulted in an engaging 1.5-hour conversation about various topics. My last forum for the 90-day plan is scheduled for September 21st at 6 p.m. in this room, and I hope that you will be able to attend. I'm also pleased to inform the community that the district completed an application for its preschool expansion grant. The New Jersey Department of Education conducted an information session on July the 12th. The application was due on August 9th, and the district submitted their application on August the 8th. The New Jersey Department of Education contacted me and scheduled an on-site visit on August the 15th to view our classroom space. If we receive the grant funding, we must implement a full-day pre-kindergarten by October the 3rd of 2022. We believe that opening 4 additional pre-kindergarten classrooms this year is definitely possible. We will partner with Today's Learning Center to house 2 of the classrooms, and the remaining 2 classrooms will be housed at Crescent Elementary School. We will have 5 years to serve our entire preschool universe, and the state has predicted our preschool universe of 500 3- and 4-year-olds. So we anticipate a response regarding the grant by September the 6th, and it is my hope that we will receive this grant. This item can be found as 17.10 in your agenda, as we have a ratification to submit the grant for this year, which is over $1 million. On tonight's agenda, we're asking the board also to approve some job descriptions for lead teachers. We're asking the board to consider lead teachers, 2 for every elementary school. And these teachers would work with K-2. 1 teacher worked with K-2, and the second would work with 3 to 5 students. 3 special education lead teachers for our self-contained elementary and middle school departments, and a math, social studies, science, and health and PE teacher for the middle school. These teachers will be paid a stipend to provide coaching and support to teachers in the implementation of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. I am pleased to announce that over 200 parents and guardians participated in our Parent Monthly Virtual Workshop Survey. This survey provides the district with information regarding the types of workshops that interest our parents and guardians. There are 13 workshops scheduled for this year that will be conducted by administrators and teachers. The link will be posted on our district's website that gives a list of all of our workshops, the dates, and the times. I hope that you can come out and participate in our virtual workshops, which will be online. In an effort to build on the strong sense of community in this district, we are excited to introduce monthly district spirit days. The first one will occur on Friday, September 16th, and we're calling that day Teamwork Day. And we're asking everyone to dress in their sports attire. All students and staff are encouraged to participate. The list of our theme days will also be posted on the website. A resolution appears on tonight's agenda, 21.7, to request an RFP for professional development. Over the last 2 months, it's been identified that we have some opportunities for success in the areas of writing, small group instruction, and differentiated instruction. The RFP seeks a professional development vendor who can provide these services. In addition, the vendor would provide job-embedded coaching to support our teachers after they learn these new techniques or reinforce these techniques. This summer, a significant amount of work has been completed to ensure that our students are presented with a standards-based and rigorous instructional program. We have met the state standard mandate to align our curriculum with the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. Our curriculum includes resources and materials of high interest. The resources include a diverse perspective representing our student population and includes embedded interventions for all students. We'll continue to work with our curriculum to make sure we have the mandated assessments to measure student achievement. I'd like to commend Dr. Young and her entire team for the work they have done this summer to ensure that our curriculum meets state mandates. Curriculum guides were posted on our website for the community to review and provide input on August the 15th. 26 health lessons will be posted for the community to provide input and review on September the 12th. Again, 26 health lessons will be posted on our website on September 12th. These 24 lessons, which are 6 K-5 lessons and 18 6-8 lessons, will address some of the new health standards, and we're seeking the input of the community. The health lesson opt-out letter will be sent to parents on September the 16th. The teachers will not implement any of the 24 lessons until the deadline to submit the opt-out letter has expired. Again, I want to commend Dr. Young and her team for these 24 lessons. I have read each and every one of them, and I find them to be developmentally appropriate with a focus on the standards that the NJDOE requires the district to address. The safety of our Voorhees Township Public Schools family remains our top priority. The district has taken into consideration all of the current data from the Center for Disease Control, the New Jersey Department of Education in regard to COVID-19 cases, accessibility of testing, and vaccination rates. And we have revised our protocols for the 22-23 school year. These protocols will be posted on the district's website and shared with parents and staff. I want to commend Dr. Alegria, our Director of Special Services, and her team for their work on improving the district compliance with the Special Education Medicaid Initiative, otherwise known as SEMI. Under her leadership and with the support of Ms. Khalil, who's our former CST secretary, the district has exceeded the state benchmark for parental consent forms, district service reimbursement, and service documentation and IEP implementation. For the 21-22 school year, the district was able to receive 126% of the budgeted reimbursement in the amount of $68,865. So congratulations to Dr. Alegria and her team. There are so many more announcements I can make tonight of all the wonderful things happening in the district, but for the sake of time, and we do have a few other presentations, I limited my report to these areas, but there are so many wonderful things happening in the district, and there's so many wonderful staff members here who are committed to ensuring that our students receive a quality education. It is my privilege to serve as superintendent of this district. At this point, we have on the agenda the annual report, and that report is created by Ms. Donnelly, our supervisor of special projects, and she works very hard in putting this report together. And this report highlights some of the things that happened in the 21-22 school year, from the various departments, schools, subject areas. It highlights the accomplishments of our staff members. It's just a very well put together report, and it summarizes the 21-22 school year. So that report will be available on our district's website after tonight's meeting. I would like to now turn over my report to Dr. Melanie Alegria, our Director of Special Services, who will provide the annual special education report for the 22-23 school year. Dr. Alegria. Good evening.
So good evening. I'm going to talk a little bit about special education, give you some information on our special education annual report that comes out every year, and then just talk about where our special education department is currently and where we're looking to go for this school year. We're going to talk about the annual report, give some information on special services summer updates, talk a little bit about the child study team, our continued communication to families, also our department next steps, and then we're going to just show you a little recap of extended school year, the next slide. So every year, districts receive a local district special education report, and this report basically just determines whether the district has made their targets according to the Department of Education, and if we haven't, then we should then come up with a plan or correction plan to address those areas that we did not meet the target on. So as I go through the plan, I'm going to show you where we made out in Voorhees Township. This report is delayed. So this is for the 2020 to 2019, excuse me, to 2020 school year. So this is delayed, but they give this to us and we still have to present on it, and then we'll go over kind of any areas that the district did not meet its targets. So the first question was indicator 4 on rates of suspension and expulsion for our classified students, and this is asking us if there was any discrepancy in our suspension for our students with IEPs. So as you'll see, the district was not determined to be out of compliance with this. So we are good. We are in compliance. We have met our target with expulsions. There was also not a significant discrepancy in our classification of students of different racial categories. And also, we do not have any punitive discipline in place for our students with special education at a discrepancy level that the Department of Education has found there to be a problem. So for all of these targets, we have met those targets. As we look into least restrictive environment, that is how much time our children with IEP spend in the general education population and exposed to their non-disabled peers. And so these questions are broken up in terms of 80% in a general education. The state target is 45%. As a district, we were at 50.49%. So we have met our target in terms of our students being in regular education 80% or more of the day. The next question is about students attending a special class, separate school. The state target is 38.75. The state target was 38.75, so we need to be under that. So again, the district has met its responsibility in that at 33.3%. The last portion is our IEP students aged 3 to 5 on home instruction or receiving any of their services in a separate setting. The New Jersey Department of Ed is using that year as a baseline. So there is no local data, and what they're looking at, the target is 0.9%. All right, so this one is on disproportionality and parental involvement. So the New Jersey Department of Education does random phone surveys for parents within the district. They'll ask for a phone list and they'll contact different parents at random. And so we scored a 90.36% percentage of our parents with the child receiving special education services, indicating that we have involved parents in that process. The state target is 85%. So again, we have met the target there. And then, excuse me, disproportionality. If we have any disproportionality, this also goes along with indicator 4, but we are found to be in compliance, so there was no discrimination that we are out of compliance in that section. So again, the district is compliant. Indicators 11 and 12, these are general supervision. So of course, 100% is what we would like to be in compliance with every child who gets evaluated, gets an IEP within a 90-day timeline. The state target is 100%. As a district, we were at 96.34%. So we did not meet the target on this area. This again was during the COVID year. So trying to get parents to participate in meetings, trying to get our meetings scheduled, virtual, there were some lags in the timeline. So that's why the district was not at 96 or was at 96.34%. When it comes to preschool, again, that is asking us, we need to be at 100%. As you'll see, we were at 66.67%. So we did not meet the target on there either. So as a district and a department, we have put some safeguards in place to support the child study team and our teachers to ensure that we are being compliant in this area. One thing that you'll see later on in the presentation are child study team assignments. There have been some changes to child study team assignments to streamline piece management. So in terms of preschool, instead of there being multiple piece managers for preschool, there is just one. So our hope is that we're able to streamline the referrals that come in through early intervention just to one person and really support that preschool piece manager versus having multiple piece managers. And again, this was during COVID year, so there were some delays in getting children into the building and getting them tested and evaluated. So that is another area that the district is working on. So this is just a synopsis of where we are in terms of our students who are currently receiving services. What you'll see is the number, and then you'll see the parentheses. The parentheses represent where we were at the same time last year. So we currently have 419 students who are receiving special education services. This time last year, we were at 393. Pending special education referrals, we have 19. This time we were at 25. The number of students receiving speech-only services is 133. And last year was 105. And then pending speech-only referrals, this year we have 0. And this time last year we were 33. So when you look at the numbers, we have over 500 students who are underneath the umbrella of special education. Some of them are receiving special education, some of them are receiving speech. And there is also a combination group. So I know this chart is very little, but this will be on the website as well. But just to give some special services update for the summer, we had a team of educators working to make some connections with our curriculum. So we had special education teachers, we had LDTCs, which are learning disability teacher consultant, who was on the child study team. We've also had a reading specialist work together to come up with some specific interventions that we're going to be using in our special education programming classes for our resource room, our self-contained, and also our autism programs. The goal of this group, this work group, was to streamline our interventions to ensure that we have consistency from every elementary school and also in the middle school. So we had an elementary group working, and we also had a middle school group working to ensure consistency across our interventions that we're using. They also worked on a draft report card for our self-contained students. So for families whose children are in a self-contained classroom who maybe didn't receive a report card in the past, there will be report cards this year, in addition to the progress monitoring that's also received. This document is a 2-page document, one for elementary, one for middle, and this is uploaded in Atlas so parents also can see the interventions, the specific interventions that we're using for special education programs. Just a quick recap on the child study team and what some of their responsibilities are. They will be supporting teachers, administrators, instructional associates. This year, the child study team is moving into the school building. So previously, the child study team was housed here and then would go to school to provide support for pre-K through 5. This year, all of the child study team members will be located in a school. So the reason behind that is they're able to provide hands-on support for our teachers. If we have any students who are in need, crisis counseling or anything like that, they're available to support those students, teachers, and also any staff members in need regarding student needs. The child study team also does the evaluations. They also create the IEPs for families, or for students, excuse me. They work very closely with the special education teachers to identify needs that the children have and outlining the goals for those students. So here's just a quick chart. Previously, every elementary has 3 case managers that were assigned to that building. This year, each building has 1 case manager that's assigned for the whole building, so they will be the case manager of the building. We're really working to build relationships amongst families and students and case managers in the special services department. So this information will go out to all of our special education families in our newsletter that goes out on the first Friday of every month. This will also be posted on our website as well, and it's currently on our special services tab website as well. Case managers will be reaching out to families the second week of school, introducing themselves and letting your families know that they are the new case managers. Case managers have been working this summer to transition their pieces if they're moving to a different school and they're no longer going to have some of their same students. So they have been working on that transition plan throughout the summer. If your child has 504 or an IEP, you probably have seen a special services monthly newsletter that comes out. This comes every Friday or the first Friday of every month. The goal is just to improve our communication, identify different resources in the community, highlight staff members. So we have a form on there where parents can nominate a special staff member to highlight. And so we use that to highlight those staff members within this newsletter, provide information on upcoming dates, and just provide as much information on special services as possible. So our first newsletter for this year will go out on September 3rd. Just as a recap, special services will be working to really support the curriculum alignment for the gen ed curriculum, and then also making sure that we have interventions in place for special education students that are in alignment and in a support of closing those achievement gaps that some of our students have. We'll be working on inclusion opportunities. That is something that we started last year with monthly special education meetings for our teachers. We will continue that moving forward. So our special education teachers meet once a month and have professional development. So that is something that will continue. And also just looking at program expansion and supports and identifying different needs that we have as a special education department. I just wanted to end with a quick recap of our ESY program. ESY this year was held at Signal Hill for elementary. It was held at Signal Hill for elementary, the Voorhees Middle School for middle school students, our incoming sixth graders through our eighth grade. We really worked to, we had 2 lead teachers for ESY who were special education teachers who really supported the program and designing activities for students, activities for families to have at home. There were different science experiments. So we do have an ESY website that is on our district website as well. But I was just going to show different pictures that we have gathered throughout the summertime. Our children really had a great time. I've heard a lot of positive feedback from families. So I do want to just make sure that that is out there. So I'll make sure everyone has the link so you can see the pictures of our ESY program.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I had the pleasure of visiting the ESY program in my first few days in the district, and it was truly a wonderful program. Students were very, very engaged, and the staff members were doing a phenomenal job. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Young, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, who will provide the annual New Jersey Student Learning Assessment Report for the 21-22 school year. Dr. Young.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you all had an enjoyable summer, and we're looking forward to everyone coming back to the next school year. Hopefully, it's going to be a lot more normal than it has been in the past. So we're looking forward to getting back on track. Trying to give you some stuff. Presentation. Keep going. I still need to. Okay, it's coming. Okay, so tonight I'm going to be sharing the 2021-2022 NJSLA results. And the NJSLA is the standardized assessment that students in grades 3 through 8 participate in at the end of every year. However, the last time that I shared the results of the NJSLA was in 2019. So our students haven't taken that standardized assessment since 2019. And a lot has happened since then. So as a reminder, the NJSLA is one measure to determine if students are considered to be college and career ready. So students receive a score of either a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5. And the goal is for all students to be at a 4 or a 5. That is what the state has determined, shows that our students are college and career ready. So here are the language arts literacy % scores, and the board has the presentation in front of them, but I can also post this online for you in the audience to see, because it is, I know, a little small. But you can see that these scores are over a 4-year period. And even though it's small, I think it's really important for me to include that 4 years of scores, because when we analyze scores, we want to look at the current year scores, of course, but we also want to look at trends over time. We want to compare grade level scores, and we also want to look at the cohort scores. So this year, we're able to see the impact of COVID-19 on student achievement. Prior to COVID, scores were trending up in literacy, and now overall, we do see a decline compared to 2019. This was expected as students and teachers navigated remote and hybrid learning. However, if you look at the scores in blue, which I know is really hard for you to see, so I do apologize for that, you will see that when we compare students who took the test, so looking at the same students over time, so those third graders that took the test in 2017, last school year were 8th graders, we can see that the students at the lower levels struggled more and had more of an impact than our students who were at the top. Okay, so actually, you can see that in 2022, more students scored a 5 compared to when they last took the NJSLA in 2019. This is not surprising, because as we expected, there was a more negative impact on those learners who struggled academically. It was hard for them to be at home on remote, and it was also hard for them to be hybrid. So now that we have everybody back in person, and we have had everybody back in person for last year and moving into this year, we're going to be able to continue our work to remediate those students. So if you go to the next slide, this hopefully is a little bit clearer. You can see that the percentage of change from 2019 to 2022. And we focus on all areas. However, our primary focus is on those scores that were above 5%. So we always have variability in scores, but we really wanted to look at those areas where we see above 5%. And those scores are in green. Okay, so we did see that drop at the top as well. However, if we look at 7th grade, they actually had an increase in level 4. But part of that was due to the fact that there was a decrease in level 5. But you can kind of see where the greatest decline was. So if you go to the next slide, shows the percentage of students considered college and career ready by grade level. The blue tracks the same cohort of students over time. So 3rd graders, when they took it in 2017, they were at a 65%. Then the next year, 2018, a 71%. The next year, they were at 73%, so they were trending up. And then this past school year in 8th grade, they were at 69%. So there was a drop, but it was a pretty minor drop. When you look at the other grade levels, if it's in green, that means it was greater than 5% of a drop. Those are not comparing the same students, it's just looking at the same grade level. And then the yellow is where we really want to put a lot of our focus. We saw that our 6th grade students in literacy really had a sharp decline. And so that will definitely be an area of focus for us moving forward. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so this next slide really is giving you the information by school. And I just want to give kudos to Signal Hills 5th grade because their students scored at the 81% of their students were college and career ready. And that was compared to 68% prior to COVID. So that is really remarkable. And so definitely kudos to Signal Hill 5th grade. But for us, it really gives us the opportunity to look at that school, that grade, and talk to those teachers to say, okay, what really was working for you, so that we can share that across the district. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so the next we look at our subgroup scores, and we continue to see an achievement gap between our subgroups. I'll caution you that in all cases, student scores are reported in multiple subgroups. So they might be, one student could be represented in actually 3 subgroups. So some of those scores we have to use caution when we look at it. The important thing though is that when we look at those subgroup differences, we want to ensure that all students are receiving the necessary interventions. So that will be our focus when I get to the end of the presentation and I talk to you about what things are we doing to improve our student achievement scores. For our subgroups, it's making sure that they're actually having access to all of the interventions that we have available. So next we have our math results over 4 years. We cannot compare cohorts because 8th grade math consists of Algebra 1 and on-level 8th grade math. So once we get to that 8th grade math, the scores separate out with our higher achievers taking Algebra 1 and our on-level achievers taking the regular 8th grade math. But again, we see a decline from pre-pandemic data, but the decline is less compared to literacy. So you'll see that on the next slide. Okay, so the next slide shows the percentage of change from 2019 to 2022. Again, the last time we took the assessment was 2019. You can see the areas in green that showed a greater than 5% change. Okay, so this is less, the change was less significant in math, and less groups were impacted. And actually, there are groups that have a higher score, but again, where you see the higher score, it's basically because level 5 dropped into level 4. Okay, we go to the next slide. This slide compares the students, or shows you the students who scored a 4 or a 5 by grade level. Again, the green indicates where we had a greater than 5% change. So we saw a greater than 5% change in grade 3, in grade 5, and in grade 8. Okay, and then this slide again compares the math scores by building. And kudos to 4th grade at Crescent and Signal Hill, who actually saw an increase from pre-pandemic scores. And those are significant, especially at Crescent, because they went from 58% to 62%. And when we look at the trend data, 62% is the highest that they ever had in math. And actually the same thing for Signal Hill. They scored from a 67 to a 70%, and that was the highest that they've ever seen. When we look back at over the 4 years, and 4th grade was an area that we really, really focused on, especially at Crescent. So it tells us that when we put the work in and when we put those interventions in place, that we can see a difference in our achievement scores. So I'm really proud of the work that they did to make sure that our student scores were increased in that area. Okay, so that's okay, I'll just talk to it. Okay, there it is. Again, this is subgroup data. Clearly, there's an achievement gap between subgroups. And again, we want to make sure that all students are getting those interventions that we know will positively impact their achievement moving forward. So when we go to the next slide, I can address this. And I do apologize, it was so small. I will make sure that this is on the website tomorrow. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure, and we've already started the process with our administrators this summer, we really want to analyze our data to determine trends in literacy and math. And we don't want to just look at, I showed you the overall summary of scores, but we really need to take time to drill down and look at individual students and individual standards. So we are able to do that with our NJSLA results, but we also are able to do that with our iReady results. So we spend a whole lot of time talking to our teachers at grade level meetings and faculty meetings and other trainings to say to them, okay, we really need to take a look at your each individual student and plan for them as you move forward to plan your instruction in the classroom. We also have teachers work together in groups called professional learning communities so that they can acquire strategies for small group differentiated instruction that's going to address the needs of all students. So we always knew that differentiating our instruction was really important, and those small groups are critical, but they're even more critical because some of our students are showing more of a gap than we've ever seen before. And so having that small individual time with their teacher during the school day is really important. We're going to continue our iReady literacy and math diagnostic program and instruction at all grade levels. So all of our students have access to the iReady diagnostic, which they will take in September. And that we'll get a report back to let us know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. We'll share that out with parents, so we know how important that parent partnership is, so that you are aware of what weaknesses and strengths your students have. And then we will continue to make sure that they have access to that on-level instruction that I already provide to them, that they can work out at home and in school. We will provide more targeted basic skills instruction in literacy and math at the middle school. We are going to utilize Atlas, which hopefully have the opportunity to look at our curriculum documents online. But Atlas is a platform that allows our teachers to collaborate across the district. It will provide them with more resources and increase the consistency with our scope and sequence in all subjects. We plan to provide teachers training in writing instruction and to create better benchmark assessments. We're going to provide training and support to teachers at BMS focused on the differentiated and small group instruction. We're going to expand our before and after school literacy and math programs. We're going to implement training for teachers focused on inclusion and co-teaching to better support our students with special needs. And we are going to continue to focus on improving our student attendance. We know that if students are in school, it's hard for them to learn the material on their own at home. And COVID has been of concern for some of our students who are now in a pattern of not coming to school. So we need to get them back on track and make sure that they have consistent attendance and that they're here every day so that we can give them the support that they need. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Thank you. So as I conclude my report, I want to thank Dr. Young for a very informative report. Although there's room in here to celebrate, there's also room for growth, and we know that, we understand that, and there's a robust intervention plan that she discussed. But the most important thing that Dr. Young said is that when we put the work in, we get it done. And we will put the work in, the work that's necessary to improve student achievement, and we will get it done. Based on the administrators and the teachers who I've met so far, there will be no doubt in my mind that we will all work together as a team, put the work in, and get things done. So I look forward to getting to know the staff at the convocation this Wednesday, August 31st, and I look forward, so forward to meeting our students on Tuesday, September 6th. Board President, that ends my report.
Thank you very much. Committee reports, Ms. Galliano, Policy Committee.
Yes, good evening. The policy committee met this evening and we reviewed some policies for first read and second read.
Thank you very much. Ms. Costanza, could you give the Personnel Committee report?
At our Personnel Committee meetings this evening and over the summer, we discussed the implementation of an after-school professional development training for teachers and a supportive curriculum to be led by lead teachers within the district. We also discussed job posting for a preschool master teacher for our early childhood instructional program, and also a job posting for lunch recess aides to help and assist in supervising the children during lunch and recess time to alleviate the time constraints on the teaching staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get into the audience participation, I just want to set some ground rules so that everybody understands. You will have 3 minutes when you come to the podium. We're going to let everybody try and speak. I'm not sure if there are people online, but everybody will only speak one time before we let anybody come up for a second time. To the extent anybody disrupts, you get one warning, and I will ask our officers to escort you out. I just ask that everybody be professional and polite to one another and allow everybody to allow their time up at the podium and speak without anybody outbursts, yelling, etc. And I expect the same professionalism and decorum to be exhibited when you exit this building. Anyone wishing to address the board, please approach the podium and write your name and address on the login sheet. If you are attending via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature to be acknowledged. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public relating to the items on the agenda for this board meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at some later time by letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in context of a later board meeting of any action the board does take.
Hello, everybody. That's a great idea to put that there. My name is Eric Sipkin. I'm a resident of Voorhees Township, and my comment is regarding agenda item 3. New Jersey statute that governs filling vacancies is NJSA 18A 1215. Which begins in part by clearly stating that vacancies in the membership of the board shall be filled as follows: by the county superintendent if the vacancy is not filled within 65 days of filling. The wording is also reiterated in Voorhees District Policy 0143. So in the spirit of transparency, I would like to ask Dr. Falk, why did you change your vote? What was the course of events that led you to change your vote? And the votes that you made on both March 16th, March and April 11th meetings. What happened between the time you changed your mind and the vote that occurred on June 15th? Was there a further interview of the nominees? Thank you.
Name is Patricia Klein from School, New Jersey. Before I start, I just wanted, somebody called my radio program and asked me some questions about my behavior. And I said, I wanted to apologize to the board for interrupting the last time that I was here. I'm not apologizing based on what I said. I stand behind what I said, but I want to apologize for interrupting the speaker. I have a question concerning the ESSER fund. The ESSER funds are the elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds. And that's 15.16 and 17.13. There were 3 ESSER funds that were given, first, second, and third. Of the 3, the first you were given almost $200,000 here. The second one, you were given close to or a little more than $700,000. And on the third ESSER fund, you were given over $2 million. So my question, you're close to $3 million. My question would be, what did you spend or what are you spending the $3 million on? And also, how do we find out specifically what did you do with the monies or what you plan on doing with the monies? Now, I noticed that you said mold, I'm sure it did not cost $3 million. So I'd like to find out more about that. Also, you mentioned about changing subjects. Superintendent mentioned about health lessons being, some of the health lessons being posted to meet the standards. I have a question about that. When will all of the health lessons be posted so that the parents can make a wise decision to opt out of the program, the comprehensive health program? Also, I'm really concerned about the opt-out. I am not an opt-out person. When you send your child on a trip, a field trip, at least when I was in school, you had to sign a permission slip. That's opting in. And we should be opting our children in, giving you permission to speak on those subjects to our children. So I am for opting in, giving you permission. Now, I had a young man say to me, he said, when you enroll your children into our schools, you're opting in. I'm going to address that. I am a 100%, I'll come back, don't worry.
Dr. Roy Orvato. I live in Singapore, Great It's rare. My name is Dr. Roy Alvato. I live in 704 Brightlands Way. I have three issues here. The first thing is the board does not respond back to us. So folks that come up and they have an issue, sometimes I feel it's a complaint or an issue, but it's never addressed. And so what I would like as a solution, if there could be at the next meeting, it could be addressed because it's not addressed from previous. The second is, now from what Mr. Simpkins said, is that we had another general election, it was an election that night. And, you know, the board is the basic element of government, basic element of democracy. And so if there was you know, from what, because I ran. And so from what I got is the superintendent of the county was supposed to make the decision. And so, you know, with government now, with the fraud elections and so forth, it's not cool if you made up your own policy. So policy could be addressed. All right. The third thing is, you know, I'd like to set up a advocacy group for parents. And so it would be a voice for them. It would be written, and we could just submit it to the board. Now we could have partnerships with Dr. Hackett, if she's here. And so it would be a lot more cleaner to address parents' voices on paper to address rather than not being heard. That's it. Thank you.
Deborah Wellings, I live in Voorhees, New Jersey. I just want to reiterate what Dr. Alvato just asked for as to parent, some kind of parental committee. We did speak at your forum, and you did give me feedback about that. But I just, you know, I want to reiterate exactly what he said, because we do come to these meetings. We've been coming to these for about a year and a half. We really don't get feedback, so we just want to ask for that. I have concerns about the new health curriculum as to a lot of people. We want to know when apparently there's going to be an opt-out for the sex ed, but for the other gender infused curriculum, we want to know when we would be able to do that. And we also, I want to reiterate or agree with Patricia as to an opt-in, because a lot of parents won't opt out or won't follow up with that. And a lot of the information is highly inappropriate for kids starting in kindergarten. Why do we want to teach gender identity issues to kindergartners or second? It's only going to confuse them. There are a lot of passionate parents that are against this. So we want to be heard. We want that to be an opt-in situation. Basically, you know, this is all around all of the schools. The content that was requested was written for special interest groups. The state is putting this through. So people have to think about why or is this being taught to kids when it's only going to confuse, and it's basically, it's highly inappropriate. The stakeholders of the schools are the parents. It seems to me that we don't have parent rights as to what is our child is going to be exposed to. And it's just downright wrong. You know, a lot of taxpayers in this county, as across New Jersey, pay a lot of taxes, and we feel our rights are infringed upon. Roselle Park School today updated their curriculum to have all the controversial health topics be opt-in only. So that's what a lot of people are requesting. There are a lot of districts that have vetoed it entirely. So we ask for that same courtesy. It's such, you know, a lot of the content is going to be detrimental and it's downright abusive. Thank you.
My name is John Saul, I'm from Voorhees. I'd like to speak again to the curriculum, especially the health and other gender issues. One of the things that is lost in all of these discussions about parents' rights and all that is that the students are the ones who are in the situation. And there's proven evidence that having an affirming and accepting environment, even if it's a school, even one affirming parent, reduces suicide rates among gay and lesbian and trans children by over 40%. And if it's an entire community, that reduction goes down to 80%. Literally advocating against this curriculum is advocating for dead children. The health curriculum around letting children know what their bodies are, what the names of things are, actually has been proven again with research to reduce incidences of child molestation and exploitation, because children actually know what's happening to them and they know how to
no outbursts.
and
No
they know
outbursts.
how to speak about it. This kind of work actually helps save and protect children and should be supported. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ian Smith. New Jersey. Come to these things because they're important to have discussions. Now, the gentleman right before me spoke very passionately, and I believe that he's getting as a rebuttal, if I may, one really scary statistic, and there's a lot of scary statistics. You can use statistics to kind of paint whatever picture you want. That's the thing about statistics. Statistics don't lie, but liars use statistics. So you want to consider that 40% of all transgender children have tried to commit suicide, and 82% of them have seriously considered it. Now, does that mean that I do not support loving, caring environments for children to explore whoever they are? Absolutely not. I think every child, not only in New Jersey, but in this entire country and in the world, should have a place where they can explore who they are. No argument there. I think that's a perfect example of why an opt-in program is a good idea on the Board of Education. No parent means their child harm. Some parents just want to be able to do it in their own respect, not have a monolith or universal system that they didn't weigh in on. Tell their kids who they are. There's no reason that we can't, as communities, form groups for these children who do want to explore that facility. And you can do that in school, not in school. So I suggest the board highly consider that. And I think I may kind of touch on what Mrs. Klein was saying. There's a post by a member of this Board of Education from October 31st, 2021. Not sure where this quote, parents should control what is taught in schools because they empower our kids, end quote, is operating. But parents do have an option to send their kids to hand-select private school at their own expense if this is what they desire. Goes on to say the purpose of a public education in a public school is not to teach kids only what parents want them taught, but it is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community. I beg to differ on that. And I think that as a board member, that is a dangerous way to approach the job that you have been honored to give it by the people of this community. Your job is not to dictate. It is to hear, listen, and respond. That's very disappointing coming from somebody who has been given a position of authority. And that's our most.
evening to Mandy Hartley. I actually am a resident of Voorhees. And unlike the person that just went for me, who I don't think you should be taking advice from, I do believe that public school is meant for the entire society. That was the establishment of public school. If you don't like what they're teaching, you should definitely feel free to homeschool or private school your child. But I wanted to say, speaking about statistics, it's estimated there are over 60 million Americans that are survivors of sexual abuse. 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 13 boys, although Megan's law says that it could be 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys because sexual abuse is highly underreported. In 91% of child abuse sexual cases, it's someone that's known and trusted by the child or the child's family members. In fact, 34.2% were family members. Fabricated abuse constitutes only 1 to 4% of reported cases, with 75% being reported by the adult. Children don't fabricate sexual abuse. With 91% of abusers being trusted adults and family members, just teaching that stranger danger doesn't work. Just hoping that it's going to get taken care of at home isn't going to work because some of the abusers might live in a child's home. Children must be able to identify their own body parts using medically correct terminology in case someone hurts them. If that upsets your religious beliefs, I'm so sorry, but you should definitely homeschool or private school your child. Teaching children to trust their gut or a yucky feeling and teaching them who a trusted adult is, if it is not their own parent, is helping save the child from possible abuse or further abuse. If a child feels comfortable talking to somebody about anything, they should be able to talk to them. If the abuser is at home, why shouldn't the child have a trusted adult? As we've seen, abusers can be family or friends of family. And learning who to identify as a trusted adult is extremely important for children. That said, these prevention tips all apply to all abuse. LGBTQ plus youth are overrepresented in child welfare systems. They're likely to be underreported because they risk abuse if they identify. There's an estimated 30% of children in foster care that identify as LGBTQ plus and 5% identify as transgender. And let's clarify that informing children about these identities and communities does not make them anything that they aren't already. So if teaching something turns children what they were taught, everyone would be cis hetero. So let's get that straight. If a child's uncomfortable coming to their family about their identity for fear of abuse, they should absolutely have the right to seek help from a trusted adult. More than 60% of those youth have said that their home was not affirming, and nearly 2 in 5 said that they lived in a community that wasn't accepting. According to the Trevor Project, nearly half of the LGBTQ youth have seriously considered suicide.
I'm gonna have to ask audience members to stop having private conversations. We're getting a lot of feedback and please stop talking while other people are up at the podium.
Hi, my name is Gloria Anderson. I live in 52 Matlack Drive in Voorhees, New Jersey. I had not planned to speak at all. I apologize. I didn't think I was going to be speaking at all. First of all, I want to thank you for listening. I used to teach high school. It was incredible listening to the curriculum, what you were looking at. It was wonderful listening to the inclusion. There were a lot of things that I absolutely loved about this meeting. And then I do agree with Mandy. You have to have some sort of health program. The example I keep thinking of is one of the girls in my school who committed suicide. It turned out that she'd been abused. When they went to look at the body, she had been abused, but she didn't have the words for it. She didn't know what was going on. So no, to a 6-year-old, you're not having a major discussion. What most of the schools do is say, if somebody touches you or you don't want to be touched, tell somebody. That's it. It's not this big deal. And yes, maybe you do teach them a little bit of language. 2 other things came up. The Board of Education is elected. They're duly elected. And just like Congress, and just like senators and state legislators, They don't respond to you totally immediately because they are representative government. Does everyone understand what I'm saying? They represent us, and every 2 years or 3 years, sorry, we're relatively new to New Jersey. We don't like them, we ask them. The bottom line is, yes, it should be an opt-out. And the reason why we give the parents the option to opt out, not opt in, is we just had an election, and you'll vouch for me, an election about gays in my community. We couldn't even get 50% of the people to vote. So you don't know if the opt-in is really going to come in, if it means anything. For those of you that it means a lot for your child not to be in this program, simply opt out. Thank you. Whoever's coming next, I have an essential tremor, and this is going to take a while for me to find out.
Take your time.
Oh, that was the only. So you don't have anybody who writes for people.
We can write for you.
My name is Marlene Kaplan. I would like to address just a few things that have been discussed. I wasn't prepared to speak, so I don't have anything prepared. I was that trusted adult in the Winslow Township School System for 25 years. I am an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker. I did many things in that job, in that position, and one of them was that if there were kids who were experiencing any abuse of any sort, they came and talked to me, and I dealt with it and dealt with DISIS, now has a different name. The kids knew me, and they knew that they could trust me, and they knew that their interest would be believed and supported. It is my understanding, to mention something else, that with this new curriculum, I do not believe that gender issues are discussed in the early grades. That is not my belief. When I went over the proposed curriculum, I haven't seen what is newly posted, but gender issues are not even mentioned in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. That's my impression of what I read earlier. So to say that that we shouldn't be teaching that, we're not teaching that, or it's not proposed to be taught at those levels. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Young, 22-year resident of Voorhees. I started out with something discussed, but apparently a lot of people already discussed already, but I still like to thank Dr. Young, who's superintendent of our curriculum, for effort getting the description of the curriculum online for parents to review. I know a lot of us are passionate here about the curriculum. No one here, I'm included, and a member of the LGBT community. No one here is saying that they are against that community or against kids being taught certain things. What we're talking about is developmentally and age-appropriate discussion in our schools, to which parents have a right to decide what their children are exposed to and whether or not it's appropriate at certain grades. Now, I have reviewed some of the curriculum, and to be honest, I have some concerns about the curriculum and what those lesson plans are going to be. We haven't been shown those lesson plans. It's not going to be done until September 12th, which mentioned. So I'm asking that we postpone any votes on the curriculum for such time that the parents, the guardians, and community stakeholders can review the actual lesson plans associated with the curriculum, especially in the subject of health and physical ed, where controversial issues are introduced. It's great if parents may be able to review, digest, and discuss the associated lesson plan material as to how our children will be educated on topics that may be in opposition to their cultural and religious beliefs. When we send our children to school, we are sending our kids to school with certain systems that they are entitled to. We're not talking about putting religion in the school. No one's saying that. But you can't discount those beliefs when they're in the school system. We all have to respect that. We're all talking about diversity and inclusion there. Well, inclusion also includes people's cultural and religious beliefs. That's a part of how our children are raised, and they're entitled to that. So I'm asking to make sure that they're taking into consideration and that the parents have the right to look at that. And it should be an opt-in as opposed to an opt-out. No one is saying that they're against any particular subgroup or groups of people. It's just respecting our parents' belief systems and that they have the right to do that when they send their kids to school. So that is the comment for that answer.
Julianne Verde, please unmute your device. Please speak.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name is Julianne Verde, and I am a mother of 4 young children in Voorhees, including a 1-month-old you may hear in the background, so I apologize in advance. In June, I addressed this board and laid out the case for the importance of world language education in the elementary school years. I have reviewed the proposed curriculum and I'm disappointed to see more of the same. Currently, our district is relying on an outdated video-based Spanish language curriculum for the elementary school years. These videos are supposed to be shown by a student's primary teacher, and from conversations I've had with dozens and dozens of families, I've yet to find one that knows of these videos actually being shown to their learners. Because they're so outdated and because it puts the burden on our already overwhelmed teachers to teach a subject they likely have little to no proficiency in themselves, it's simply not being used and our children are not actually learning Spanish. This curriculum seems like more of an attempt to check a box and say we're meeting the New Jersey learning standards rather than attempting to actually teach our kids the language. We need an in-person Spanish language teacher to teach our students if we want to give our children a meaningful world language education. And I implore this board to make this issue a top priority for the 2023-2024 school year. Next, I'd like to share my support for the health education curriculum, including the new sex education standards. As a survivor of intimate partner violence and a member of the LGBTQ community, I wish I had received this education when I was in school, and I'm so glad that my 4 children will be. I'm a 2nd-generation survivor of violence and didn't see healthy relationships in my own home. And I think it's really important for our students who are in similar situations to learn about healthy relationships in the classroom. Sex education saves lives. This curriculum is medically accurate, age appropriate, and inclusive. It will help prevent abuse, teen suicide, and help empower our kids to have the information they need to make healthy choices. It appropriately starts in the early ages and builds on medically accurate information about their bodies, lessons on identifying trusted adults and consent. And for families who object, there is an option to opt out, which is an excellent compromise. I look forward to reviewing the lesson plans once available next month and thank the board for the opportunity to speak to you tonight on these issues. Thank you.
Yes. My name's Nadine. I live in Voorhees. I'm British, and my whole education was spent in England. I
for free. And I spent basically all my working life or most of my working life in America, in Los Angeles. We just moved here a couple of years ago. In LA, they defunded the schools pretty basically. They took the money out of LAUSD, and then they're not great. Generally speaking, that you can't send your kid to LAUSD. It's really sad. I had a child that went through the education system there, and we actually ended up sending her to private school. It's one of the top private schools in the United States. We pay $40,000 a year, and that's not fun. You shouldn't have to do that. I can tell you that it was an elite school. We were really fortunate to send her there. At those elite schools, they're not talking about these low-level things. Or do we do health education? That's basic. In developed countries all over the world, most countries are doing health education. That's a norm. What I can see is they put the curriculum out there. You can opt out. It's right there. They're saying we're doing this. We got a letter when my child was up for doing health education. They said we're doing it this year. This is when we're doing it, and this is what we're teaching. It was fantastic. You can opt out. And it's so small to be thinking, oh, we need to just take them out. Is this right? We need to take them out of this, when you don't understand. You got to think about what you want for your kids. Like these kids she is now at a top university in the US. These kids who are educated at this level at the top private schools, this is small cheese for them. It's nothing. Like we need to get over this and think about what are we doing? What else are we doing to educate our kids? Languages. Like, why are we not talking about math levels? All of that, those things, this health education, that's a norm. We've already settled that a long, long time ago. And globally, if you want your kids to compete, these kids, you wouldn't believe it. They're so comfortable with themselves. They're so comfortable with their bodies. They're so comfortable expressing themselves. They're incredible. And they operate at a level way above, a normal standard, because they've been educated at this high standard, and they've been taught these things are normal, and they're ahead of the game, like the rest of the developed world. So if we can put this normal thing aside and get to the real education of education, and help our teachers, help our boards, and be sort of supportive, maybe we'll push our education a bit higher than doing what we're doing, just talking about these little things.
That's it.
Hi, my name is Crystal Munyon. I live at 27 Hollywood. Before anything else, I just wanted to talk about the superintendent's comments, and I am absolutely in awe at how quickly we were able to transform pre-K. And that's something that we have been bringing up at several board meetings now as being so important to this district, that we are a township. My son's 5, he's entering kindergarten this year. I was paying $1,200 a month to send my kid to private preschool because there was not an option for me to be able to go to private preschool. And surrounding towns have that option available for free for all of the students in the town. And to be able to know how quickly you come on board and worked on that being a real solution for the new parents that are moving to Voorhees, they're moving to a school system, that are going to have this opportunity to begin the education that's transformative for children for the duration of their educational path, starting at 3 and 4 years old. That's a really big deal. And all of this other stuff is glossing over that. And we should not gloss over that. It's a big deal. And it matters for the kids in the community. So thank you for that. I just want to unequivocally state my support for the health curriculum. I absolutely think everything that's been listed in the curriculum that I reviewed was on point with what it should be, was age appropriate, was things that I have absolutely spoken to my son about at home, was reasonable topics to discuss. It built upon each other through the whole duration of schooling as he grows, that it's reasonable material. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in there that I didn't learn when I was that age. I learned all of those things at those times. I just don't think that, and I'm not that young. I mean, I just don't think that that's unreasonable. I also wanted to speak about world language in our elementary schools. And I think that this is really critically important. There are studies that show not only the that how world language impacts, our children for, their future ability for jobs that are bilingual. I mean, how many jobs do you need to be bilingual to be able to even apply for? But beyond that, even their brain capacity to function at an advanced level by being exposed to second languages and what it does, for their ability to learn and their ability to process information and their ability to absorb information at an advanced level, it is transformative. There are so many townships surrounding us that provide that. I just think that it's really important that we don't leave that on the back burner for a long period of time. What we provide currently, I've spoken to so many people in the district, there is no world language in K-5. There is no world language in K-5. That's all. Thank you.
My name is Plina Mintz. I'm a resident of Cherry Hill. I'd like to voice my opposition to the new health education standards. I would like to make an argument today that the parent is the sole authority over their child, not the schools, not other parents, not other trusted adults. The parent is the sole authority, the responsible party for that child. And therefore, the parent makes the ultimate decision what content, especially sexual content, is their child exposed to. I don't care what the Department of Ed says or what all the experts says. The parent is the expert and has the sole authority over the child. And if you want to expose their child to any content, you have to get their consent. Nobody in this room has the permission to teach any child sexual content that the parent does not consent to. Not the respected superintendent, not the respected board of ed members, nobody, okay? Another question that I have, if you're so convinced that this is so important and so normal for children to know about sexuality from 5-year-olds, really? Did we forget about childhood innocence? It doesn't matter anymore. You don't need childhood innocence. All these little children and young adults from 5-year-olds, and we can trust them. We can trust their decision. We can trust what they want to be when they wake up in the morning. We don't need parents. Actually, the curriculum eliminates all parents. If you read the curriculum, you will see that parents category has been eliminated. Now they are bunched up with other guardians and family members under the category of family members. So no more parents. So the objective is to delete parents from the conversation, okay? But this is not limited to Voorhees, and it's not limited to every New Jersey school. It's in all 50 states, and it's globally, okay? And the purpose is to separate the child from their parent under the guise of all these wonderful curriculums, okay? So we're not teaching them math, we're not teaching them writing, we're not teaching them to think, okay? All they need to know is about their sexual parts. Another question that I have, this very same conversation that is in the curriculum is actually harassment in the workplace. If you want to talk about this content in your workplace, you are gonna be going to jail and accused of sexual harassment of your colleague at work. So why is it okay to use the same content and speak to a child in the absence of their parent? Why is that okay? Okay, this is harassment in the workplace. We also have
Your time is
federal
up.
laws. Thank you so much.
Hey guys. All right. Everyone seems to be arguing over the sex ed program. And what I'm going to say is not about either your arguments or beliefs, but merely about the logic of opting in or opting out. Just the way I see it, if you disagree with the program, I don't understand why you would have a problem with opting out. It's like you are given this decision right there. Say, no, my kid it shouldn't be learning about this. If you find it inappropriate, then why not do that? I mean, when I was in Marlton in elementary school, in 4th grade, we had our first talk about body parts. 5th grade, we had a talk about sex. Seems pretty normal to me. And some students, their parents chose to opt them out. And it's not like they were, they felt unincluded or felt, targeted. It just was a thing and everyone's kind of normal. You're blowing this issue out of proportion, everybody. And I don't understand why you can't just say, hey, here's our program. If you don't agree with it, then just take them out for these few lessons and I'll be fine. If you disagree with it, I'm saying you already have the option. Like opting in versus opting out, it's the same thing, except for you are given the government, right? School's government agency. Sorry if I'm going off of it, but it's like the knowledge they give in school should be seen as a privilege. And if you don't want your kid to learn that, then they shouldn't be opting in to learn it. They should be opting out to not. That's all I kind of have to say. Oh, actually, one more thing about innocence. Again, we all kind of knew in elementary school about sex. There is no innocence like you like to think. It's just we don't talk about it much. That's how it works. We just talk about sex as a joke, usually among kids. That's my little speech, head talk.
My name is Diana Brown. I live at 75 Cornell Drive, Voorhees. I did not want to talk tonight, but all this talk about the curriculum is really important to me. I personally find curriculum extremely important as a child that went through not having the education and the life I led. So I am the exact victim of what you talked about. I went through where my parents didn't educate me. I went through childhood. Just say childhood molestation. I ended up having years of abusive relationships. I had no sense of self-respect, self-worth. If school had educated me, given me one option, one safe place, my whole life could have been different. So not happy I had to say it, but I feel like someone had to say it. That's the reality that we're talking about. That nobody wants their kid to be that. Nobody, trust me. And you guys may not be the people doing it, but the person that's choosing not to let their kid learn it sometimes is the person that's doing it. So that's all I have to say.
Andrea Wood Johnson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. I don't know if I need to state, well, I'll go ahead and state, I live at 145 William Feather Drive in Voorhees, New Jersey, so I'm a Voorhees resident. And I also have a young person in the middle school, a son, going into 7th grade. First, I want to state my support for Voorhees Public Schools adopting the New Jersey Health Education curriculum in an age-appropriate way. I look forward to reading the lesson plans when they are made available. I don't understand, well, I do understand that getting people very worked up about this, but learning the anatomical names for the human body parts, body autonomy, and gender identity, and what children can do if something is happening improper in their household or elsewhere, since we do know that these crimes tend to happen with people they know, I don't know how that is problematic. But moving forward, for those who do not agree with this curriculum for their children, please go ahead and opt out and allow us to move forward in areas where our schools are really struggling. And what I mean by that is I'm concerned about the pandemic's learning gap. I look at those test scores and it's very concerning to me. I'm also concerned about our children's social, emotional, and mental health coming out of the pandemic. I see it professionally, not with children, but with adults. So I can just imagine with children. There's also a gap just with preparing our middle schoolers to go into Eastern, that by focusing on this curriculum and on health curriculum and not thinking about overall, we're missing out on focusing on the small instead of the larger picture. Lastly, I just want to say, we need to think about what we're trying to do here. We are raising young men and young women who are going to go out into a diverse world, who need to not only be exposed to different ideas and not be afraid of them, whether they agree with them or not, but be able to critically think about that. I am concerned with this whole opt-in as opposed to opt-out. Talking about field trips. Well, this is a curriculum. You don't get to opt into learning about algebra or opt into learning about similes and grammar. So you shouldn't be able to opt into learning about health education. And that's my time. Thank you.
Can I just get clarification? Is something happening in the back? I just saw a bunch of conversations. I just want to make sure that everything is okay.
She's been recording all the speakers.
Are they allowed? Is she?
Your board policy allows it.
Everyone else was like, "Don't have a conversation." She's screaming in the lady's face. And nobody said a word. Two different people were doing it.
I didn't see them speaking, but I have warned you both already. If I see you speak to anybody additional, you will be escorted out, both of you.
The both are out in the hallway, man. They're both out in the hallway, man.
The two people.
I have it. Knock it off. You're adults. I'm younger than every single person in this room, and I have way more mature than all of you. Knock it off. I'm handling it.
Keep it moving. We're not talking to this lady. Keep it moving.
I apologize. I don't know what's going on back there. I just see people having back and forth conversation. Our officers are taking care of it.
It's not an active request. She's recording. She has to delete the recording.
All right, we're no more side conversation. Does anybody else have a comment? Yep. I think there's still another one online. Oh, and there's another.
Call Nance.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Nance. I am a Cherry Hill resident, and I wanted to speak up at this Board of Education because I speak up and out at my Cherry Hill Board of Education, and I am not in support of opting out. I would like to use this very graphic example. If I showed up at your board meeting and I walked up to a stranger or a board member and asked them, could I kiss them on the lips? And they say no, then they're given the opportunity to opt in to my kiss on the lips. But if I walk up to a board member or a stranger at that Board of Education meeting and I kiss them on the lips without their permission, then they say, stop, they're opting out. So there is a difference between opting in and opting out of something. Sexual education is not for kindergartners. It's not for 5-year-olds. Health education is. Sexual education is not. So I encourage and urge every parent that will listen to this, that are present and that may listen in the future, please push for opting in. You shouldn't have this curriculum, period, but it certainly should not be opt out. There is a difference between opting in something and opting out of something. So I am not in support of sexual education with this health education curriculum from the state on down. I have 2 adult children. I have 2 grandchildren. I don't understand why we're making this hard. School is not for my 5-year-old granddaughter to be learning about sexual education in kindergarten. It's not rocket science, people. So I am not in support of this sex education being included within the health education. And I just wanted to say that because there is a difference between opting into something and opting out of something. I thought we were taught just say no, or young girls are taught say no when someone tries to push something on them sexually that they don't want. Well, just say no. We don't want this curriculum for our young children. It's the same principle. Thank you.
My name is Philip Brooks. I'm a resident of Voorhees. I know this has gotten pretty long, drawn out. I don't want to give time to 2 quick points. One, if you think that it's possible that our children are going to be affected by this, why is it such a small percentage of the population of Voorhees that's coming out here and worrying about this? Every single person that I'm seeing over here is they're bringing in people from Cherry Hill, they're bringing in people from Marlton, they're bringing in people that are looking for these people that are just flattening and trying to make political points and making it into a political circus. It's ridiculous. Grow up and take advantage of the situation. Make a referendum if you're that worried about it. That's how democracy works. You are outvoted. You're a small percentage of the population. You're a loud and rude, loud part of the population. You should just go ahead and sit down and make a referendum if this is what you're worried about. Because honestly, this is ridiculous. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Dan Olson. I'm a resident of Voorhees. Good evening. So wanted to thank all of our out-of-town guests for coming tonight. I appreciate it very much. Seems you care a lot about our kids. I do as well. What I think we should really be focused on is their education, right? We talk about sex ed, whatever, but it's really about education. The young lady from UK said it very well. I think that's very important for her to say about how we really should be focused on getting our kids better so they can thrive in society. That's the most important. I'm a competitive person, and I feel like the focus should be more on how my child can thrive in today's world. It's a very tough world out there, and that's where the focus should be. So when we talk about the comment earlier from Mr. Smith about society and parents and all that. I totally get where he's coming from. I do agree. Parents have the right to their children's education. But I also think society does as well. We all pay taxes, we're a community. We want our kids to be better so that our society can be better. So it's not just parents, it's society working together to make education better for the best for everybody. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sherry Cohen. I live in Voorhees. I'll keep this really brief. The Constitution guarantees us the right to a free and appropriate public education. It is not the right to parents to dictate what the school will teach our kids. We delegate that to our government, and Voorhees has done a fine job in my opinion. Thank you.
Nope.
Patricia Klein again. Someone made a statement that they don't believe that they're teaching gender and all this. You haven't read the standard. There's a difference. Standard to curriculum, totally different. The standard says by the end of second grade, they're going to be taught about this gender. By the end of second grade, listen to the English. By the end, which means they can be taught kindergarten, first grade, second grade. By the end, you have to read the standard. It's totally different from the curriculum. It says by the end of grade 5. That means kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth. By the end of 5th, they're going to be taught about how to feel on their bodies. I don't want to use the word because we have some kids in here, but you know what I'm talking about, right? There's with an M. That's what they're teaching. Okay, that's why I didn't say it. I didn't say it. So they're taught that, yes, romantic and sexual feelings by the end of grade 5, okay? By the end of grade 8, they're taught with the V word, the O word, the A sex word. By the end, which means kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. This is what the standard says, not the curriculum. Totally different. You've come up here and you said to us, if you don't if you don't want to come to the public school and be taught this, go to a private school. That's why I am one who supports school choice 100%. Our money should follow us wherever we choose to put our children. School choice. And once it's approved, because I am running for Congress, once it's approved, we will be removing our children from the public school and we will be able to pay for private school. Thank you for supporting that. I totally agree with you, 100%.
If you're not at the podium, please refrain from speaking.
My name is John Savak, and I live in Voorhees. My son's going to go to school here. That was a really good demonstration of what makes me really nervous about the things that I'm seeing. Like, we moved here specifically because of the school system, and we don't want to do private. And it's really disturbing to hear from people that are not from here talk about what they're advocating for our kids. Their kids don't go here, they don't live here, or maybe they're newly relocated. And so I have to wonder, what is their motivation? I'm guessing that your motivation is your kids go to school here. This takes time, it takes effort. So I can only guess that there are something else for these people to gain other than the interest of my child, right? You don't drive across the state because you care what's going on with the kids in Voorhees. So I ask that those of you who are listening, who might be on the fence about these issues, investigate the people who are speaking. Look and see where they're coming from. What is driving them? Where are they getting their payoff? I'm getting my payoff because of my kid. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Or quite frankly, I would have other things to do. But unless I'm being paid to be here, unless I'm getting some other benefit from it. So as we go into the polls and start looking at who's going to be coming, look at the people who are talking, where they're coming from. Ask simple questions. Your kids go here? You live here? Really basic. That should be a bare minimum for any type of discourse on this topic in our schools. When people that don't live here show up and are videotaping people who are speaking, we're afraid because we don't know where that's going. We don't know what groups you're belonging to. We know that we've read in online groups that there's this mass movement across town. We got people showing up, running for Congress, trying to get money out of school because follow the money. And they use fear and intimidation tactics. I don't want videos of my wife showing up on hate groups somewhere. So yeah, we're gonna ask questions and ask it to be deleted because we don't know you. You don't live here.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Burson, and I've been a sub for over 15 years, worked in Voorhees for over a decade prior to COVID. And I just want to put my 2 cents in for the fact that this curriculum that we're talking about and the teachers that we're having teach it are not trained and educated clinicians and educated in the mental health aspect of things, which leaves me at a loss for claiming jobs and taking jobs for health teachers. And who knows at the elementary level, is it going to be spread out into the elementary classroom that I have to worry about taking an elementary job because it's going to come over into other subject areas and things like that? That's where I see this going. And I see that there's not really a good handle on it right now, because it seems to be that we didn't even have a say-so at our own district level of implementing this. It's just been forced upon us. So I'm basically feeling the need to just step aside from my job, because I'm not trained to handle a lot of these topics with kids. I'd be embarrassed to handle some of these topics at the 8th grade level and stuff like that. So you're putting people in a position where we're not trained to handle it. So I'm not sure what kind of training you're doing for all your health teachers, but they're certainly not going to get a degree in clinician, being a mental health clinician between now and October. So that's my big problem with this.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Again, Nicole Nance here, Cherry Hill. I just wanted to address a statement that was made. There is a payoff for me. Absolutely, I live in Cherry Hill. The payoff is called human kindness, compassion, and care. I would hope that if my grandchildren were somewhere outside of Voorhees and that parent that got up to speak saw them in danger or saw something being done to them that was not right, that they would speak up for them, even if my grandchild, which they do not, live in Voorhees. I would hope that human compassion and kindness and care would be the motivating factor for why they would speak up, because it sure would be mine. That would be my payoff. If I saw that parent or any parent's child about to have something done to them that was age inappropriate, that was not in kindness or done out of love, I would certainly speak up. And I wouldn't have to know them, and they wouldn't have to be from Cherry Hill for me to speak up. So that's the payoff: kindness, compassion, human care. And I just wanted to address that. That is why we are visiting this Board of Education meeting, because we care about children, period. They don't have to be ours. I wanted to add that for the record. Thank you.
We're going to move to board comments.
I'd like to first start by thanking Dr. Hackett for her clear and consistent communication in weekly updates. We've come to the meetings, the meeting today. I knew everything that was going to be on the agenda, and she's done a great job in the first, can't even believe it's been 8 weeks. The time is already flying by. And I feel like I know what's going on in the district, not just because of my kids, but because I'm hearing from Dr. Hackett. Second, I want to thank Dr. Allegria. It's very clear that she has done a lot of work since she started here in progressing the district with regard to special services. Obviously, we have passed through all we needed to in terms of the state level, but I think what's more important is that our children within the district are being served. So I want to thank you for your work in that area. And finally, I want to thank Dr. Young. The test scores, as we know, are not where we want them to be. I don't think test scores are the only thing that are important to our children, but it is one metric for success. And I do think we need to be working harder as a district to make sure we get where we need to go. I was encouraged by your presentation. I was encouraged by Dr. Hackett's words. It is not within my job duties or responsibilities to dictate outcomes or reports, but I have a sincere hope that we continue to move in a positive direction. I was particularly disturbed tonight with seeing some of the subgroups not performing in comparison to other subgroups within our district. And historically, we have seen lower test scores at certain schools versus other schools. And as much as I want to celebrate and give kudos to some at Signal Hill or at Crescent in different areas, that means that the other schools are underperforming with regard to those. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully having a more typical school year this year and really seeing our students perform at a level that we want to see them performing at. And I thank you, Dr. Young, for sharing those data with us, and I look forward to the next year. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say something regarding the emails. Someone had mentioned that we're not responding. I would ask and recommend that when you do send an email to us, that you are copying the superintendent on it. A lot of times the superintendent is not copied on it. If I catch it, I would, in the past, try to forward it. We do try to always go through the proper channels. You know, depending on if it was curriculum or another type of issue, we want to let our superintendent and assistant superintendent address that first. That is the proper way that we go about it. So if we are not replying to you in the past, maybe we're not catching that the superintendent or assistant superintendent isn't copied on it. So if you could please do that. And as far as the curriculum, I will probably lose sleep that I'm even talking about this right now. I just, you know, I am somewhere in between all of you with my thinking. I agree with certain people when they speak on one topic and other people in the other direction on the other topic. All I can say is that, you know, I may not be as fast forward or progressive as other people. I, as you know, I always talk about all the time that I've spent in school. These are babies. I wasn't super happy, not with what we are with the curriculum or what we're teaching, maybe not so much with the timeline, made me really nervous. But I said to myself, you know, I'm not that educated on it. I don't have enough information. So I made sure that I went to Dr. Young. We talked about it. She made me feel better about it. I'm not speaking on behalf of the school district, but you know, there's state standards and then there's Voorhees and the way that we implement things. So all I can say is that I have a lot of faith in our leaders here, in our assistant superintendent, our director of special ed when it comes to any mental health component, and also our superintendent. So I've spoken with them and I trust the way that Voorhees is implementing it. And that's the best job that we can do. We can't stop the state standard, but we can definitely manage it for an age appropriate delivery. So that's what I'm hoping. On a personal level, I try not to make my decisions or my votes on any religious views or anything that I have personally. But I do try to incorporate my life experiences and things that I have gone through in my past that have helped me come to my decision or the way that I'm going to vote. I think some of the stuff that is on paper on the standards that came from the state are very shocking and seem vague. So if you do have any questions, please reach out to Dr. Young, ask her, talk to her about it. Again, Voorhees, we want to implement things in a very age appropriate way. So on a personal level, I came from a single parent home. I didn't have a parent who talked to me about anything, nothing. I was a fish out of water my whole life. Everyone else knew what was going on half the time, and I did not. I did not have the support. I went to Catholic school. My mother didn't want to talk about, topics as far as puberty or, any type of sexual offense or anything like that. I was completely on my own. So we don't all have those parents that make us feel comfortable in our own skin or okay in the world. So for myself, however I vote, and I don't want anybody to be upset either way, I have to do the best job for the kids, and that's what I plan on doing, and that's what I keep backing my decision on. I come from a family of old school people. We have old school ways of thinking, and that's not the world that we live in now, and that's not really what is the best for my own children. I just have trust, like I said, that in this district, in this township, that we are going to make our delivery as age appropriate and as sensitive as possible without it being gross or disgusting or, over the top, shoving it down people's throats. So I just wanted to say that I'm really struggling with my decision because, like I said, I agree with both sides on certain things. I'm having a really hard time with it, but I just really have to make the best decision for the kids as a whole, not just my own kids. So that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you.
Can I talk now? I just wanted to say, it really upsets me that not one person, well, maybe one person that came up here started off by saying thank you to any of our administration that has done so much for us this summer and all of last school year and going into this school year. Thank you to our superintendent, to Dr. Leggert, for Clark Mathis, for any of the improvements, any positive things that have occurred. Everything is always negative. And I really, really hope that that's going to change. I really, really do, because I've been on the school board for almost 6 years. And because of this environment, I am not running again. And I feel bad. I really, really do, because you think you know what you're getting into, you have no idea. But you should respect the things and be positive before you're negative, before judging everyone. Thank you.
I'm going to take a slightly different approach from that last comment and say that I'm really honored to be here and I see a lot of possibility. I'm really honored to be sitting up here. I'm really heartened by the engagement in this community. I'm disappointed by the people who come from out of town and insert themselves in this dialogue when it doesn't relate to them. I am really impressed with that Osage library. I think it's state of the art and it's to be commended. I really appreciate everyone's work in that. The MS looks amazing. My daughter is about to start 7th grade and it looks tremendous. I am disappointed with the test scores and I appreciate Dr. Young, you owning the gaps and really recognizing that there are gaps. I am curious to know whether any data has been looked at around evening out of schools by middle school. It seems like there's a disparity in the schools. Whether there's been any effort to understand whether those disparities diminish over time in middle school, whether they level out by high school. On the subject of high school, while I know that's not in the purview of this board, I think it's really important for us to be thoughtful as a community about how we make the transition from 8th grade to high school more seamless, easier. Anecdotally, I think students are ill-equipped to get to high school for the rigors,
for a lot of the study skills, learning how to have adequate student hygiene to organize their time. And I think a lot can be done to partner between VMS and Eastern to understand what those rigors are, where those gaps are, to support the students to be ready at a new level. Thank you.
I encourage everybody to come out to Dr. Hackett's next roundtable that she had. I attended last week. There's about a bunch of you in the audience. I thought we had great discussion, some really great ideas, including from this very well-spoken young gentleman, which gave us his own perspective from going through school and in the high school perspective, which I think everybody appreciated. And I think I appreciate Dr. Hackett. I'll agree with what Dr. Levy said. She's an excellent communicator. She's very organized in her communication, keeping us very up to date on everything. And even at our roundtable the other evening, she was taking notes. She encouraged every one of you to set up meetings with her, which I commend and appreciate. And I think it's important to have that ongoing communication. We also talked about, I think, all of us being maybe uneducated on some of these terms and maybe misinformation out there. I was just looking at some of the curriculum. Some of the people I think in the audience stated certain things and I didn't even see it in the curriculum. So I think some of us, and even myself included, I don't fully understand some of these terms. And I asked Dr. Hackett to kind of create some sort of education for all of us, because maybe if we're all educated, maybe we have better understanding, we can agree and kind of bridge that gap. I'm really at a crux on this health curriculum. I understand both sides. I never thought about tonight the impact on suicide and that impact on people. So that is really trying to me as a parent of 3 young children. I did think I read something that they are putting the suicide hotlines on the back of the ID cards. So I think our attention needs to be more on these aspects. And I do agree with the other person speaking about foreign language and really stepping up and competing in the world that we're living in and not focusing on the nitty-gritty and focusing on the important stuff and educating our kids and focusing on what's important for our kids. But I'm still at a crux on how I will vote on this health curriculum. And personally, I really would like to see the 26 lesson plans before I'm comfortable voting on it. So that's just my personal aspect. But I think both sides, because I think both sides are probably misinformed. So I think if we can all digest what's coming, then maybe we'll all be comfortable. And, for those who still aren't, maybe you'll have to opt out or however we go. But that's where I'm at personally on my thinking of voting.
I'd like to take a moment and thank each and every one of you guys for coming out. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'd like to thank each and every one of you guys for coming out. I appreciate all your passion and all your concern. And I just want to kind of give that assurance that everybody up here is working as a team. We're here in the best interest of children. That's why you're here, and that's why we're here. And we do promise to make the best decisions in the best interest of children. I also want to thank the principal from Crescent and also the principal from Osage. I didn't do this last time when I was back in June, but I was able to tour their buildings, and what a wonderful building that they do have. I do like to thank Mr. Clark Mathis for his walking me around the kindergarten, the new addition to the building. I definitely had a hard hat on and walked around, and it was a good time. So just wanted to, kind of say those things and say thank you. But just want to give you the further reassurance that everybody up here is in the business of caring about children. And we just want to really, really, really assure you that we will always make the best decisions in the best interest of all children.
I'm going to move forward. Items under transportation. Can I get a motion to approve all the items under transportation?
So moved.
Second.
Online voting is open. Voting is unanimously in favor. I'm closing the voting. Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve all of the items under policy?
So moved.
Second.
Online voting is open. Motion unanimously passes. I'm closing the voting. Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve all of the items under personnel?
I'll move that.
Second.
I have Mr. Schmooze is first. Who was second?
John is first.
Were you Kelly?
Kelly.
Second. Yeah,
Kelly,
Kelly.
second. Online voting is open. Motion unanimously passes. I'm closing voting. Motion carries.
I'm going to take a quick second and turn it over to the superintendent for an introduction.
Okay, thank you so much. I am pleased and I thank the board for approving the appointment of our new Voorhees Middle School Assistant Principal. And I see Ms. Calabria with a big smile on her face, and she has a new member of her team. And I'd like to invite at this time Ms. Inch to come up and just briefly greet the community. And we can give her a round of applause. She's our new.
Alicia Enns. I want to say thank you, first of all, to Mrs. Watson and Dr. Hackett, the entire Board of Education, Dr. Young, Mrs. Calabria. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I really sincerely look forward to becoming a member of the Voorhees Township School community. I want to be a partner. I'm a mother of 3. They all went to public schools. I believe in public education. You guys have a wonderful system, and I take it as an honor to become a partner in education with all of you. And I look forward to the upcoming year. Thank you for the opportunity.
Can I get a motion to approve all of the items under new business?
So move.
Second.
Online voting is open.
Helen. I don't,
I'm sorry.
want to abstain for something,
If you want to abstain. Okay.
for one of the items.
Oh, there's a place to abstain.
Oh,
To abstain.
it's only one of the.
Oh, for just one item.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's what's tricky about this software here. Okay, why don't we do this? If you can just tell me, I will write it down. And the new business on here. Okay, so Mrs. Stupler,
17,
you would like to abstain on which item?
17-2.
17-2? Okay. I'm gonna put yes. So you're yes on everything else?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark it as abstain on here so we don't forget, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're gonna mark it as abstain. And then we have yes on everything else. I'll talk to Mrs. Milady about that later. Okay, so everybody's vote is in. We have all yeses with one abstention on 17.2 by Mrs. Stupler, but yes on everything else. Motion carries.
Our next regular scheduled meeting at the administration building will be on September 28th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Audience participation, anyone wishing to address the board, please approach the podium and write your name and address on the login sheet. If you are attending via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature to be acknowledged. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at some later time by letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in the context of a later board meeting of any action the board does take.
First of all, I would actually very much like to thank the board, and especially Dr. Hackett. We had a really great meeting the other night. I didn't know what to expect, and I was impressed. I also want to relay the excitement from my son. Well, first of all, last school year, our first in the district, he kept on going on about the incredible level of empathy that the teachers seem to have at VMS, and the kind of contrast there. I do have some things to go on tonight, so I wanted to advocate for a broader approach to STEM in our district. So I am a roboticist, an engineer that designs and builds automation. And so my experience gives me insight into the changes coming to the labor market, and they are drastic. I have been pleased to hear many of you all to prepare our students for 21st century jobs. That's the phrasing. But I want to be clear what that looks like. First, I'd like to point out that classroom technology investment, while important, is not enough to prepare students. So a smart board does not make a smart kid. It helps present, right? So that I just, sometimes when I talk about this, that's confused about technology in the classroom versus technology education. So the labor market will not need students that just pass a standardized test. Software and robots are perfectly capable of following instructions. Students should emerge from middle school with a high degree of self-direction, problem solving, communication, and creativity. Even in elementary, they should have hands-on experience designing, building, and programming their own creations. That comes from techniques like project-based learning and actual involvement in STEM projects and contests. Unlike the approach to testing in general, students should make mistakes and learn the joy of recovering from them. They should learn how to identify their assumptions, research the solution space, and formulate a plan of execution.
Thank you.
Just something really quick. So we really wanted to come to your meeting, but it's like at 5 o'clock, and that's dinner time. So if there's any flexibility, I hate to put it on your schedule, but it could be either Zoom, which is never, we really want to come, but if you could do it like 7 would be ideal, but any like 5 is just for out.
Actually, 6, does that help?
7 really.
Okay.
He doesn't understand. So, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, I'm Marlene Kaplan again, and I am remiss in not welcoming Dr. Hackett to Voorhees. Thank you very much, and thanking all of you for the very hard work that you do each and every day. I would ask, I have hearing aids, sit in the very front. I can't hear many of you. I can't hear some of the people who come up here have asked about microphones or something, or moving the audience closer. It would be wonderful for me to hear all of you, and I can hear very few of you, even with my hearing aids. I turned them up to the highest level. So if you could consider that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Erickson for me in, and a much lighter topic. Unintended. I came across an interesting post this week. There's a member of our community, and they were posting online a petition called Diwali Day Off. My basic understanding is that Diwali is a festival of lights. And I understand further that it is a celebration of good over evil in our Hindu community. Roughly 23 other New Jersey school districts added a day off in observance of Diwali. So can Voorhees Township Public Schools make Monday, October 24th, 2022, Diwali Day off? And will Voorhees Township Public Schools consider a day off in observance of Diwali in future years? Thank you.
Hello. So I'm actually from Marlton, which I know a lot of people may not like that, but I'm like, basically, I heard a lot of stuff about how we shouldn't be teaching gender and sexual identity earlier on because it may not be age appropriate. But I'd like to make a correlation here is we teach fire safety at an early age for them to internalize it, for them to basically make it become the norm. Yeah. I would also like to take credit where credit's due. Your job looks really intense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for the laugh.
All right. Board comments? Oh, I'm sorry. All right. We're going to move on to finance. Can I get a motion to approve all of the items under finance?
So moved.
Second.
Online voting is open. Mr. Bryce, is yours registering?
Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay, is it working?
Let me refresh.
Okay.
And go, I'm refreshed.
Very good. It's unanimously yes in support of the items under finance. I'm closing voting. Motion carries.
We will have a brief executive session. It will probably last 15 minutes. I strongly recommend you go home because when we come back, I don't believe we're taking any action. We're just going to be adjourning the meeting. So I don't want to keep you any later than we already have. Be it resolved that pursuant to Section 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act, the public shall be excluded from that portion of the meeting involving discussion of litigation matters. Further resolved that the discussion of such matters in executive session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the board takes formal action. Further resolved that the board may be in executive session for, again, it'll probably be 15 minutes. Action will not be taken when we return. Can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session?
I'll move that.
Second.
Online voting is open, or I could just mark everyone unanimously yes?
Yes.
Yes, everybody yes?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out.
I'm slow with this.
We have to go back on the computer.
I can do it for you guys.
Oh, you're gonna do it?
Yeah, I'll do it. Okay, so Dr. Levy made the motion, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Okay, I need a second to return to public session.
Second.
Okay. Okay, rather than call roll, can I mark unanimous that we return from executive session?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
I'm gonna mark it unanimous. Wait, what is?
We adjourn.
Excellent job.
So we actually-
I need a motion.
We need a motion to adjourn. I'm
Okay, give me
sorry.
a
A motion to adjourn.
We have Dr., how about Dr. Levy?
We all
and
do.
Dr.
All in favor?
All in favor.
Aye.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Much better job.
Great job.
Enjoy your holiday.